Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this Central Asia Caucasus Institute forum. We will just give it a minute to allow people to log in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this Central Asia Caucasus Institute forum. We're going to just give it a few more seconds for people to log in. Okay, we'll start now. Welcome to the Central Asia Caucasus Institute forum. Today we are once again discussing the matter of regional cooperation in Central Asia, with a subtitle being A New Central Asia, and well, actually, that's going to be the title, and the subtitle being From Past Attempts to Future Cooperation. And what we'd like to highlight today is the studies that we have published over recent weeks. First of all, a study by one of our speakers, Sanat Kushkumbayev, entitled Gone But Not Forgotten, the Central Asian Union, 1990-2005. As well as another paper by Ambassador Javlon Vakhabov, A New Central Asia Emerging Opportunities and Challenges. At this moment, we have some technical difficulties with Uzbekistan, but we're grateful that Dr. Kushkumbayev is with us. We hope we'll be able to get Ambassador Vakhabov online as well. These are our two speakers, and we have Professor Frederick Starr, the founding chairman of the Central Asia Caucasus Institute, perhaps the most avid advocate of Central Asian regional cooperation anywhere in the last 3 decades, who will provide his insights on the matter as well. Obviously, the purpose of our event today is to discuss not only the perspectives of foreign experts like ourselves, but of people inside the region who are active participants and have been for several decades active participants in the efforts of having Central Asian countries form closer bonds. With that, I would like to hand the floor directly to Dr. Kushkumbayev to provide not only, of course, your perspectives on the history of Central Asian cooperation, which is much richer in modern times than what many people assume, but perhaps also speak to some extent about the developments that are underway today. Please, Dr. Kushkumbayev, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cornell. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Good to see you, all of you. And as you rightly pointed, Dr. Cornell, at the forum in the Termes this summer, it's important to look forward when it comes to cooperation among Central Asian countries. Now, Central Asia is once again on the verge of deeper regional cooperation. This current wave of integration is notably different from past attempts and inspires cautious optimism, but serious challenges remain on the path toward a unified and prosperous region. To understand Central Asia's future, it's crucial to analyze the lessons of the past, grasp the uniqueness of the current moment, and realistically assess both external and internal factors. If you look at the period of independence, we are currently in a second phase of regional consolidation, which some experts call Central Asia integration 2.0. I hope the lessons and experience from the early period have been learned and will be applied to this new phase. The title of this webinar is a New Central Asia with the question mark. I'm trying to understand the connotations here. Politicians often talk about a new Uzbekistan or a new Kazakhstan. Recently, the president of Kyrgyzstan said a new Kyrgyzstan. Actually, any integration to a greater or lesser extent is a process of construction. In essence, it's a constructivist approach. Of course, it's based on the fundamental factors like common shared history, geography, and common cultural, social, and economic models. The history of post-Soviet Central Asia has seen several attempts at regional integration. Despite good intentions, they didn't lead to the creation of stable, unfortunately, and effective supranational structures. Projects like the Central Asian Economic Union and the Central Asia Cooperation Organization faced a number of obstacles at the time. First of all, differences in economic models. To be frank, the countries choose different paths of development. For example, Kazakhstan's was more liberal economic model contrasted with the more closed and state-controlled economies of Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. Now, situation changed, it's true. Lack of genuine political will and focus on the declarations was in past time. Many integration initiatives remained on paper, never receiving the necessary political momentum for implementation. Summits, meetings were often more about making declarations than creating working mechanisms for cooperation. And at the same time, unresolved bilateral issues, border disputes, water sharing problems, and the existence of enclaves created constant tensions in bilateral relations, which undermines the foundation of multilateral cooperation. Yes, of course, rivalry was between the leaders of the country. For example, Kazakhstan's first president, Nazarbayev, pursued an active multi-vector diplomacy. These different approaches created conflicting paths for integration between his vis-à-vis Uzbek president, focused on self-sufficiency, if we can call it influence of external actors, finally. It's a very important factor was major global and regional powers pursuing their own interest often encourage competition rather than cooperation among Central Asian countries. 2005, it's last point of the first big experience of regional integration. When Russia joined to the regional integration organization, and then after 1 year joined Russia in 2004, and in 2005 these organizations disappeared. Yes, it's unfortunately it's influence of our north neighbor. Yes. A new wave of cooperation now, yes, we can see what has changed. The current phase of regional rapprochement, which began nine years ago, yes, began around 2016, has some key differences from previous attempts. Yes, it's true. The atmosphere in the region has changed. All 5 countries, and even Azerbaijan, it's very important to understand that by acting together, they can more effectively defend their shared interest. The simple conclusion is that disunity and national egoism lead to weakness, while unity and integration lead to stronger statehood. Yes. the current wave of cooperation is free from ideological rhetoric. Its foundation, it's calculated pragmatism, I think. That's all. It's for the start, Dr. Cornell.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kushkumbayev. I'm sure there will be follow-ups in our discussion later. Now we turn to Ambassador Javlon Vakhabov, who joins us from Tashkent, I believe. Please, Ambassador, the floor is yours. Ambassador, can you hear us? We can't hear you. Okay. For a moment, we're trying to connect with Ambassador Vakhabov.
Hello?
Yes, please, Ambassador, it's your turn to speak. Please go ahead. We have some audio issues, I believe. Please try again.
Gentlemen?
Yes.
Wonderful. Now we're connected to everyone, depending wherever you are. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Cornell. Thank you, Dr. Starr, Dr. Kushkumbayev, for this great opportunity to speak at this important and very timely, I would say, webinar. And the timing of our discussion couldn't be more fitting as we look ahead to the 7th Central Asia Summit, which will take place this November in Tashkent under Uzbekistan. And this gathering has a potential to be a real turning point for regional consolidation and integration. So the relevance of these two articles on regional cooperation in Central Asia is particularly clear. So one which has been published by tracing the evolution of regional integration and cooperation over the decades. So while the other, which belongs to your humble servant, focuses on contemporary developments, analyzing recent achievements, ongoing challenges, and opportunities for deep economic, political, and cultural collaboration. So together they offer a comprehensive understanding of the region's path forward. That last summit held in Tashkent was back in 2019. So since then, gentlemen, as you are pretty well aware, the world has changed dramatically. So the COVID-19 pandemic reshaped our countries and exposed global vulnerabilities. So the withdrawal of the US troops, security realities right on our borders, and the conflict in Eastern Europe has altered the geopolitical landscape, so disrupted supply chains and triggered energy, food security challenges. But at the same time, intensifying global trade wars and the mounting competition for critical minerals, reshaping international economic relations as well. And all this, as well as the accelerating impacts of climate change, water scarcity to environmental stress, are being felt across Central Asia. And all of this makes the upcoming summit in Tashkent not just another meeting, but a crucial moment. And it is a chance for our region to reflect on how much has changed with unity, resilience, and even shared vision for a stronger, more interconnected future. And this is precisely why the two important pieces under the discussion today are so timely and relevant, I think. But with respect to my own article, in New Central Asia, Emerging Opportunities and Challenges, I would like to highlight just three messages I wanted to deliver to the audience through this piece. So first, which came to my mind, so we are entering a new stage of regional cooperation in Central Asia. And as it was mentioned by Dr. Kushkumbayev, over the past 8 years, we've been primarily engaged in. But today, however, the picture is fundamentally changing, right? So most bilateral problems have now been resolved, including sensitive border issues, so that once stood in the way of trust and integration. And a telling example, by the way, is the Khojan Declaration on Eternal Friendship of 2025, signed by Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Tajikistan, which actually finalized our long border settlement and turned the former flashpoint into a platform for cooperation. And moreover, Central Asia has also made important strides in water cooperation. For instance, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Kazakhstan advanced collaboration on the Kambarata hydropower plant. From the Ragun hydropower plant to Uzbekistan, which was unthinkable prior to 2016, as you are well aware. So these steps reflect a new spirit of trust and partnership in managing our shared water resources. So with this foundational question settled, so the countries of Central Asia, I think, are entering a new phase of regionalism. So the agenda is no longer dominated by dividing, but common projects. So enhancing connectivity, strengthening regional security, expanding trade investments, and developing joint responses to environmental and energy challenges. And in this particular sense, I think the region is moving from the era of problem solving, collective action for the region as a whole. And this marks a real qualitative shift. So one that opens the door to deeper and more institutionalized cooperation in Central Asia. And under Uzbekistan chairmanship at C5, our country has set clear priorities. So advancing regional economic integration, strengthening cooperation on water, energy, and cloud, improving transport connectivity, and of course, deepening people-to-people ties. But among the flagship initiatives are One Tour, the whole region in tourism, which hopefully will make the foundation for Silk Road visa, which both Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan are currently discussing. Other topics. So all of this is carried forward under the motto together building a new Central Asia. The second message, gentlemen, is about how Central Asia itself is steadily advancing the institutionalization of regional cooperation. So regular meetings of the heads of national security councils, NSC officials are now firmly in place. So underscoring the region's collective commitment to stability in shaping a common and prosperous future. As you might remember, at the Cholponata meeting in Kyrgyzstan 2022, the Treaty of Friendship, Good Neighborliness and Cooperation for the Development of Central Asia in the 21st Century was signed then by Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, restrained to put their signatures on it. But this year, the Tajikistan president also signed the treaty, so further strengthening the spirit of regional unity. So to those who are less familiar with what I'm talking about, actually exactly this treaty was supposed to make the foundation for broader and deeper regionalism in Central Asia. But now there is only one country, hopefully, which will be able to put its own signature on it as well. And at the 2024 summit in Astana, so heads of state of Central Asia adopted the strategy, also known as the concept for the development of regional cooperation, Central Asia 2040. And this strategic document by expanding five-party interaction and enhancing the region's role and subjectivity in international affairs. And what we would like to also mention, again, this year under our own chairmanship, Uzbekistan hosted the inaugural meeting of the Council of National Coordinators for C5, which a body which is represented by senior officials of all Central Asian foreign ministries, bringing together representatives from all five countries. And we also continue to advocate for the shift for the establishment of the Economic Council of Central Asian States. So another forward-looking body envisioned to develop agendas. So, and when we speak about institutional foundations, I think it's important to look back at history as well. As I have noted in my own piece, and as Dr. Kushkumbayev has also emphasized in his article, so the International Fund for Saving the Aral Sea stands a vivid demonstration of Central Asia's capacity to act collectively in the face of challenges. And it represents the institutional memory of our regional solidarity. And I firmly believe this can serve as a cornerstone for building a deeper and more structured Central Asian integration in the years ahead. And the third message, the last one, gentlemen, we're still facing. And despite this remarkable progress made over the past years, I would say that full consolidation of resilient and integrated Central Asia remains a work in progress. And the region continues to face both inherited and emerging challenges that require collective responsibility and shared solutions. And one of them is related to differences in our foreign policy approaches. And I mean Asian countries' memberships in different regional and even international organizations like the WTO or Euro-Asian Economic Union or CSTO, which create a complex policy landscape necessitating. Besides that, despite multiple agreements on water resources management issues, so water security remains a critical challenge for Central Asia. And water scarcity definitely will threaten economic growth, food security, and regional stability. And moreover, so you know well, while Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan are water rich, but outdated infrastructure limits glacial melt in the Pamirs and Tian Shan is worsening the situation. So the third part, so despite the progress in railroad modernization and new cross-border corridors, such as the China-Kyrgyzstan-Uzbekistan or Trans-Afghan Railroad, significant obstacles continue to hinder and disparities in infrastructure quality persist. So with some countries using modern systems, while others on outdated Soviet-era railroads, and operational inefficiencies, fragmented management, and limited digital adoption further slow development. So finally, cooperation based only on interest is often temporary, but when grounded in shared history, culture, and values, it becomes enduring. So I believe all 5 Central Asian states share a unique, as mentioned, interconnected civilization. And revitalizing this heritage is key in building a unifying regional identity. And Uzbekistan, under its current chairmanship, emphasized that without this foundation, so cooperation in
Thank you very much, Ambassador. We now turn to Professor Starr for his reactions to these 2 presentations, as well as any additional thoughts about the matter. Please.
Well, first of all, hats off to our 2 speakers. Each of them is contributing seriously to the very positive development that they're speaking about. They're not simply observers. They're active participants and taking leadership roles intellectually, which is so important. And so bravo, we're honored to have you all together. Now, let me start by noting a terminological detail. And that is that our speakers, Ambassador Vakhabov speaks about consolidation. Very interesting word, Latin root con, with, and solid, making it solid with. That's very practical, very, very real, very institutional. And Dr. Kushkumbayev uses over and over the word integration. Again, a Latin root, and it has a very specific meaning. It means deep mutual connection. Now, let me just say the obvious. This is a dramatic change from what has existed over the previous 30 years since the rise of these new sovereignties. Back then, these terms weren't used. Instead, consolidation, well, yes, that wasn't, but instead we heard about coordination, cooperation. These are very nice. This is what a new couple, when they meet, they coordinate and so on, but they certainly don't consolidate or integrate very quickly. And one has to ask, why has it taken a generation and a half since the collapse of the USSR, since the rise of these sovereignties? Why has it taken this long? And what's been the break? And well, I think there's several that have been alluded to in these 2 excellent reports. First is that we are dealing with new sovereignties, not new cultures, not new societies, but new sovereignties. And that meant they were all very busy building their own institutions. That took time and attention. Second, there were so many unresolved issues. We don't appreciate how serious these are. Ambassador Vakhabov mentioned several of them, but take just the example of Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan. We all talk about Bukhara carpets, which were largely made by Turkmen. And the relationship, these 2 peoples, I mean, there are many prints dating from the 18th and 19th century showing, very bloody combat between these 2 peoples. And yet, when the time came for them to cooperate and coordinate more deeply. And that had to do with the transmission of energy across their two countries. They resolved it overnight. An amazing achievement, but there were problems of this sort that had to be ironed out, and it took time. And beyond that, there were the huge centrifugal pressures on the region, because none of these new sovereignties had membership in any international organizations as new sovereignties, and they were joining right, left, and center, and that took attention away from their mutual interaction. So it's, in human terms, very understandable that this delay occurred. But then there's a further factor, and we have to be blunt about it, and that is pressure from the North. This is a taboo subject that an outsider perhaps can speak bluntly about, but it's not a secret, and especially during this period of the Ukrainian war, it's a very serious factor, and only very slowly and very deliberately and very cautiously, because did the states of Central Asia in a sense, assert their sovereignty, not against Russia, but their sovereignty positively in the world. And over time, here's the important point I wish to make. Over time, I think we can be optimistic about this, because whatever happens with the Ukraine war, Russia in the next decade or so is going to be a very, very different state, simply because it's squandered so many of its resources. So I think this gives an opportunity, gives this space, if you will, for the Central Asians to do what every other world region has done, and that is, to use your own terminology, consolidate and integrate. Now, that's all very important, it seems to me, and it's very positive. The prospects are very good right now. And all these activities that our two speakers have enumerated are proof that this is an extremely constructive moment. However, I think there are things that are being avoided. They're not being fully embraced. One is, why C5? I mean, the presidents themselves invited the president of Azerbaijan to join their meetings. Why haven't the members of the 5 former Central Asian states, why haven't they officially brought Azerbaijan on board in their group? And why haven't they asked their international partners, north, south, east, and west, to treat them as the C6? This is, it seems to me, an inevitable and highly positive step, which isn't against anyone, and it should be taken, and the Central Asians themselves should take the lead in this, not ask any outside organizations, east or west, to do that. Now, the final point is the definition of the region. The Central Asians and Azerbaijan are actually ahead of the world, ahead of the rest of the international community in thinking about this problem. Why? Because they have had this ancient deficiency, ancient meaning the last couple of hundred years of Russian imperial rule, of being cut off to the south. And the opening to the south remains an urgent and inevitable priority for all these countries, including those on the west of the Caspian Sea. So the question of Afghanistan is an area where there is good cooperation, good coordination. You have real investments coming from Kazakhstan, coming from Uzbekistan. Tajiks are very active. They just sent a long train road of humanitarian assistance aid to Afghanistan after their very serious problems they've had, humanitarian nature. Now, I'm not saying bring Afghanistan tomorrow into the C6. I'm saying put this as a major acknowledged issue on the agenda, the mutual agenda, and Central Asians, therefore, C6, they should become leaders in the development of that relationship. Maybe in very cautious development, as it should be, but they could become world leaders in that process because they have the most at stake, and they should educate the world on this subject. So that there is a lot of work yet to be done, in addition to the institutionalization, which has been delayed for a generation and a half and is finally beginning. So we're honored to have both Dr. Kushkumbayev and Ambassador Vakhabov with us today. They're old, solid friends of the Central Asia Caucasus Institute, and we are honored to have them as long-term collaborators.
Thank you, Dr. Starr. I'll turn the floor back to our speakers for any reactions. Perhaps, Dr. Kushkumbayev, you would like to start.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Starr, for your very valuable comments. And yes, it's true. Now, instead of widely supranational structures, leaders prefer the flexible format of annual consultative meetings. The focus has shifted from the geopolitical ambitions to the concrete economic benefits. A rise in intra-regional trade, the launch of joint transport corridors, and new industrial ventures, for example, trade zones between Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, for example. This is less a move toward a federated union and more about creating a coalition of interests where the benefit of each country guarantees the success of the whole. It's, yeah, I think it's one of the lessons, one of the which learned our leaders or our regional elites from the past, from the first experiments. That's why I think it's more cautious steps we can see now in the regional cooperation. But it's logic behavior, I think. It's logic behavior. If we, I mentioned already and you also, about the influence of the external powers. Yes. Yes. Focus on concrete projects. The current cooperation is more focused on the implementing specific mutually beneficial project in transport, energy, trade, etc. Yes, it's true. And when we speak about the Afghanistan factor, yes, paradoxically, the Taliban's rise to power has fostered greater cohesion among Central Asian nations. It's obvious the security threat emanating from an unstable Afghanistan has prompted them to intensify regional cooperation, including the military exercises like this. But while the approaches to engaging with Kabul may differ, they all agree on the need to prevent the spread of terrorism and ensure humanitarian aid. Yes. That's all, man.
Thank you, Dr. Kushkumbayev. Ambassador Vakhabov, we last, well, we've seen each other since, but we saw you in Termez, where Uzbekistan was very active in terms of working on the matter of Afghanistan. Perhaps you could elaborate on that part.
It was a great pleasure. But before I turn to this part of our discussion, just wanted to reflect on what Dr. Starr highlighted. So urging us, countries in Central Asia, to give some space to other neighbors, to countries like Azerbaijan, Afghanistan was mentioned as well. Even Mongolia, by the way. All the three might be part of these regional engagements. But this will definitely require some time. But in the meantime, we see, as you have already mentioned, so Azerbaijani leadership took part in 2 Central Asia summits in a row, right? Both in Dushanbe. Over a new configuration, this trilateral emerged on the Central Asia's map. Just recently, leaders of Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan got together in Avaza, just on the Caspian Sea basin. So in these terms, I would say that Azerbaijan itself, for instance, has already become of Central Asia on what is currently happening here. Just a couple of years ago, even just recently, we, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and Azerbaijan signed this first ever agreement on the transfer of green energy through the Caspian Sea towards the Black. Believable prior to 2016, but now it's becoming a reality. And moreover, in recent years, ties between Azerbaijan and Central Asian states have acquired a truly comprehensive and dynamic character. So we now see regular political dialogue, growing trade, so large-scale infrastructure projects, and vibrant humanitarian exchanges. Just one example, gentlemen, I would like to share with you is related how nowadays citizens of Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan are crossing their border checking points with no foreign passports at all, just showing up their IDs. So the Uzbekistan president has tasked the government to introduce the same simplified visa regime towards the Azerbaijanis as well, towards the citizens of Kazakhstan. This is how we envision the future of Central Asia, where these travels among all those countries should be significantly simplified. Last Europeans are moving from one country to another without any restrictions and even difficulties. But back to our discussion in Termez, Dr. Cornell, so regarding Afghanistan. So in my piece, I also highlighted Uzbekistan's policy concept, which we call here stability through connectivity. So which offers a forward-looking approach to engaging Afghanistan and ensuring sustainable peace and stability throughout Central Asia. In this term, integral, I would say, unalienable part of Central Asia, and advances its foreign policy under this principle I mentioned, stability through connectivity. And grounded in good neighborliness, respect for sovereignty and non-interference. So this approach reflects my country's consistent support for a peaceful, stable, and economically viable Afghanistan. And since 2017, if we take a look at our history, so Uzbekistan has moved away from viewing Afghanistan solely through a security lens. Instead, embracing engagement based on trust and partnership. And in our view, a stable and so offering new markets, trade routes, and a growing workforce. And beside that, Uzbekistan, you know well, is spearheading transformative projects such as the Trans-Afghan Railway or this Surkan-Puli-Kumri line, power line, just designed to turn Afghanistan into a continental bridge linking Central Asia and the whole region of South. And the establishment of this term as free economic zone, where we got together with Dr. Cornell just a few months ago, welcoming tens of thousands of Afghan visitors. So we both witnessed how this zone has already become a hub of commerce and human. Visas are no longer required for those Afghans crossing the Uzbekistan border. And in parallel, Uzbekistan has committed nearly $1 billion to Afghanistan's energy sector, beginning with gas exploration, natural gas exploration, and electricity generation, which was unthinkable just a few years ago. And regional engagement is also deepening. So Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, and Tajikistan have all advanced trade, infrastructure, and humanitarian cooperation with Afghanistan. And this collective effort, I think, underscores a shared responsibility for stability itself, but the whole region of Central Asia. And in light of this, we call on the international community to move beyond isolation and support practical, I would say, inclusive engagement with Afghanistan. So only through dialogue, through connectivity and cooperation, can Afghanistan become a constructive partner, strengthening the security and prosperity of the entire Central Asia.
I would like to make an observation here. The Central Asia Caucasus Institute has focused on this issue that we're discussing today, the fate of Central Asia as a region, or Greater Central Asia as a region, for 30 years. And it's been among our most consistent focuses over those decades. It's important that Dr. Kushkumbayev and Ambassador Vakhabov speak today because they've both written very important papers on this subject. But so has our chairman today, Dr. Cornell, whose paper on exactly this same topic was also published just recently by the Central Asia Caucasus Institute. I think we should hear from him. He should drop his chairmanly role and adopt a speakerly role.
Unfortunately, we have 8 minutes left in our webinar, and we have a few questions from our audience. The only thing I would like to add to this conversation, I think, will jibe with what was said by both of our speakers, which is on the one hand, I think we have a move towards the building of regional institutions. The consultative meetings have been institutionalized in a certain manner. There is also now the building of parliamentary cooperation, as well as the branching out of these type of consultative meetings into the ministerial level and so forth. I think with Fred Starr and with many other in the region, I think we see that there is low-hanging fruit that can be achieved without institutionalization. But at some point, and I fear very soon, we'll get to a point where the deepening of regional cooperation in such a way that it really benefits the countries of the citizens of Central Asia, the population of Central Asia, and also becomes more, should we say, immune to political changes in one or another country, or to external pressures for that matter, will require the deepening of institutions that that can, carry out the work of implementing, and also, between government agencies, what have you, of making this cooperation much more real. That's one point. The other point is that at the same time, I think we see in a kind of an opportunistic way several layers of regional cooperation, and that's why that was the title I gave to the article I produced. That we have the central element, which is the 5 countries of Central Asia. Then we have the forms of cooperation that are either trilateral. Ambassador Vakhabov mentioned 2 of them: the Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan triangle, or the Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan triangle with the Hujen Declaration. So there are different mechanisms in which this regional cooperation can work. Sometimes it takes 5 countries of Central Asia, sometimes Azerbaijan is involved, sometimes fewer countries for specific regions, for specific areas. But I think at some point, obviously, all this cannot be just ad hoc. It's wonderful that we've gotten to the point where we are right now. I think we should absolutely realize that a decade ago this would not have been, people wouldn't have believed that this is where we would be today. So we have to take stock of where we are, but I think we also have to see that at some point, and I think very soon, we have to have a situation where Central Asia is not the only world region that doesn't have a structure, aside from consultative meetings, that is, of regional cooperation. But for the last few minutes of our webinar today, I'd like to just ask you, hand back the floor to you one by one, and perhaps the one question which has come in is perhaps from Dr. Kushkumbayev, which is what are the main reasons why the Central Asian state acquiesced to the dissolution of the Central Asian Union back in the time in favor of an integration scheme including Russia? Perhaps I would add to that, is there a risk that such a thing could happen again? And a second one is perhaps for Ambassador Vakhabov. Could a formation like the European Union be established in Central Asia in the future? There is also a question about whether the regional cooperation will be based on what the questioner calls the closed regionalism with supranational institutions, or a more open regionalism that I assume would have lesser supranational and more inter-state character. I'll hand these questions back to you again. We'll start with Ambassador Kushkumbayev.
Yes, thank you very much, Ambassador Vakhabov, Dr. Kushkumbayev. Thanks for a great question. It's very important. Yes, Russia is a powerful and influential player. It's true. It was, and it still is. Moscow had its own projects for integration, the CSTO and the Eurasect in that time and now. And Russia was worried about alternative projects and its influence in the region. The nation of the region decided that it was tactically better not to cause further concern in the Kremlin, especially since Uzbekistan was under Western sanctions after the events in Azerbaijan, in Andijan, yes. It's 2005 in May was. Tashkent may also have been looking for better relation with Moscow and Beijing that time. It's what's the reason to the allow to engage Russia in the regional process. That's it shortly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Vakhabov.
I want to those questions with just a few points. Actually, I would say several potential scenarios for further institutionalization processes in Central Asia, which might be hopefully well digested by our audience. So, commercial scenario. So this path, in my understanding, assumes the continuation of current trends with cautious approach to institutionalization. So regional programs and projects may advance, but without strong institutions or mechanisms for coordination. Deep integration, so will be difficult to achieve based on the reasons which you have already highlighted. And as mentioned before, by the way, ASEAN offers, so despite being established in if I'm not mistaken, 1967, so it only created its secretariat in 1976. So almost 10 years later, and adopted its charter in 2007. So while its economic community became so operational in urgency is underscored by alarming forecasts. So today, 38 million Central Asians live in water-stressed areas. So a number projected so by the World Bank so to rise to 75 million by 2050, you know well. So scenario number 2 is institutional scenario, I would say. And this approach envisions new stage of integration through creation of which we have already agreed on in Dushanbe, ministerial councils, which are currently convened, so working groups and other expert platforms, and etc. While strengthening coordination across key sectors, economy, transport, and water, and plus energy as well. In these challenges could serve as a powerful drivers for pooling comparative advantages to achieve shared goals, regional stability, modernization of energy and water infrastructure, climate adaptation, what else? Improved transport connectivity, and etc. And the third one, adaptive, I would call it adaptive scenario. So this path would see uneven progress, so accelerated cooperation in easier areas such as transport, logistics, or even humanitarian exchanges, so alongside stagnation in more sensitive domains such as political coordination or water and energy management. So, and unlike so the inertial scenario I mentioned as number 1, momentum and fueling centrifugal tendencies, ultimately undermining the consolidation of the region. Thank you.
Thank you. As so many times before, Dr. Starr, you get the last word.
What we're seeing is of profound importance. I hope that this culminates in serious institutionalization. I appreciate all the reasons for caution in this regard. I respect the actions of all the countries. They've been very prudent, very sensible, very wise even. But the objective of having functioning institutions that link, and that these various institutional links themselves be coordinated through some mechanisms that are region-wide. This is extremely important. Otherwise, the region will be driving with the handbrake on. It will be able to go a distance, but not as far as its potential. Now, 2 things. First of all, none of this is against anyone. It is for the region.
Yes.
This is a very important point, and none of your outside friends and partners, and you have them in every direction, none of them should view this with alarm or skepticism or suspicion. They shouldn't. They should acknowledge this. They all have their own exclusive groupings and organizations without others. And therefore the development of Central Asia as a region, re-embracing its deep past and its cultural affinities, this must be done by Central Asia alone. No America, no Russia, no China, no India, no Iran. It isn't against any of them. It is for the region. It gives them space to interact, to coordinate, consolidate, and to act more effectively for each of their national peoples. So I don't want to. I'm not criticizing the slow development of region-wide institutions. I'm just saying we appreciate the reasons, and prudence has been very effective. However, there is an objective, and that is build institutional structures for a greater Central Asia, which I hope soon will include Azerbaijan, and that these structures should be outsiders should be well-wishers for these structures. They should hope for them to succeed, but to stay out. Everyone should do this. West, East, North, South. They should respect that the Central Asians have a historic and deeply rooted right to act together among themselves and to coordinate and cooperate effectively. So I hope we move on briskly to that development, and that the West and the East and the North and South should join in applauding this and in respecting the regional sovereignty.
Thank you. We are over time, so without further ado, I'd like to thank all of you. Dr. Kushkumbayev, Ambassador Vakhabov, thank you again for your contributions to our publications and to this event. Dr. Starr, as always, and I'm sure this is not the last time that we delve into this topic. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Have a good.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes.